it?
You hear that screeching?
No, I can't hear it.
It
Where is
sounds
he?
like a bird. Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, it sounds like chirp, chirp. Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
We're close.
Are we seconds away? Are we there? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Parker's council meeting. We've got quite a few things on the agenda tonight, so we'll, without further ado, we'll start moving on. Pastor Davis is not going to be able to be here tonight, so if I could ask everybody to please stand. Ms. Gibson, you gonna?
Lord, thank you for the beauty and majesty we see in your creation. Thank you for the opportunity to care for the world you have made. We ask that your blessing would rest on this council and that you would give us great vision and enthusiasm for our work. Please bless the efforts of our hands and the influence of our work in Parker and beyond. Lord, as we plan and share together now, may you guide us by your Holy Spirit and lead us all into truth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Mr. Chappell?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If y'all want to take a seat. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Barrow.
Here.
Mr. Chappell.
Here.
Ms. Galbraith.
Here.
Ms. Gibson.
Here.
Mayor Kelly.
Here. Okay, as we always do in our meetings, I open the floor to anybody that would like to come to the podium, state your name and address for the record so that the recorder can hear it, and tell us what it is you'd like to talk about.
I'm not going to talk about what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Going to use better discretion for a second, but I want to thank each one of you that voted yes on Tuesday night. Took a lot of courage to go against what you campaigned on, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lumley.
Thank you.
Nick, come to the podium.
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Kim Evans, 1019 Pennsylvania Avenue, Lynn Haven, and I love the pickleball court. It's beautiful. You've done a great job for the city, for the community, for the county. It's beautiful. I would like to propose restroom facilities, perhaps a porta potty, something that is long-term would be great for the community. There's no toilet out there whatsoever. We have young kids relieving themselves, playing basketball. I can't take a picture of that. I would be a pedophile if I did that. But we do need something out there. If we could have something temporary, such as a porta potty, that would be appreciated. This is just a great venue for many people. Without the toilet, of course, you have medical issues with UTIs, people holding their bladder, short-term play. So long-term, I think it is something that we could consider for the community.
I think I can help answer that for you. As we move on and generate more revenue, the park will have more amenities added to it. And in anticipation of this question tonight, I was told that you might come and talk to us. At the end of the meeting, I don't want to discuss openly the reasons that there isn't a porta-john over there, but I'd like you to take a minute to sit down with Chief Hato from the police department, and he'll be glad to explain to you why we have not put one there. And that might answer your questions.
Okay. So
Even if you said to me, I will pay for it, I still would like you to talk to him before we move any further forward.
okay, so it doesn't affect ADA at all? You don't have certain guidelines?
Well, if we did that, we would have to close the pickleball. So we're working on it.
I spoke with Mr. Summerlin about a porta potty though, and he said if we did get one, it would need to be ADA compliant.
The porta potty, but she's saying ADA because of the not having a porta potty. Is it ADA non-compliant? No, ma'am, it's not. But
Okay.
the issue is if we do have a porta potty, it would have to be an ADA porta potty.
Yes.
And we're getting there, and eventually we will build that. But I can give you a really good answer to your question if after the meeting's over you just take 5 minutes to talk with the police chief, and he will explain to you why we're not doing that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Open the floor to anybody else who would like to come up. Yes, ma'am.
Diane Coates, 1521 Dover Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just have, how do we discuss items for the meeting when we had no idea that they were going to be coming up? And when does the audience have a chance to talk about it? If the council already has heard about it or talked about it and they have their say, along with the persons that are on the agenda.
So the people that walk up to the podium before the agenda items, there's no way we can know what that's gonna be.
Okay, but is there a thing that we're not supposed to talk about, the things that are on the agenda for this evening?
Well, it would be preferable not to, but if
Okay.
there was something you felt that strongly about, then we probably could.
So
It depended
then,
on what it was.
so when does person or the audience here have a chance to discuss anything if you already got a packet and everything and all we
And
know
you don't
is-
have a packet, yeah,
Right.
okay. Mr. Sloan, would you read it?
Well, in the meeting, Mayor, you give the audience the opportunity to speak on each agenda item as it comes up. What the procedure has been over the years is non-agenda items are what you allow the citizens to come forward before the regular agenda and speak about whatever is on their mind. So if you have an item on the agenda that you would like to speak to, then you would just need to
Raise your hand.
raise your hand and be recognized by the chair, and then come and speak about that agenda item.
Before they
As
themselves?
it comes up.
We
As
would
it
know.
comes up,
Like
okay.
this lady, I've never met her before in my life. I've never seen her.
Okay.
I had no
But
idea
I'm
what she
still
was gonna
kind of
ask me.
confused on the fact that when does the audience get to say anything? I can't even bring up anything right now.
Well, does anybody in the audience have any knowledge about pickleball bathrooms?
Mayor, I think she's referring
I
to
mean-
agenda
Oh,
items.
agenda
items.
items.
So
Right.
the answer to the question, Ms. Diane, is when,
Yes.
as we bring the items up
That's when you
during the
raise your hand.
meeting, just let us know that you want to speak.
Right.
Oh,
And the
so
mayor
you
will,
can.
mayor will,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah,
You
it's not
still
that you
have to come
can't.
up.
Yes, you
Yes.
still have to come
But
up and in
anything
person.
anybody wants to talk about now, I'm open to suggestion. If it's something that we bring up on here, like the first item we're gonna talk about today is the pod. If someone
Okay.
wants to talk about the pod, they can
All right.
raise their hand, I'll address you. You come up, you can talk about the pod.
When the pod's up.
Yes, ma'am.
When the
Oh,
pod, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in other words, anyone can participate in anything
Well, more or less, yes, ma'am.
and on the, okay.
Is that
Is
okay?
that cleared up for some of the other people that had? Yes. I see a few people saying yes.
Is that helpful?
Okay. All right, because I think what was happening also is that they didn't know when they could talk. You know, so, okay, so there's a pole barn. I missed that meeting, I was sick. So last week, what is it, was on the.
So if someone puts up a pole barn, I'll just use that for an example, there's a land development regulation. If they're compliant with a land development regulation, then they're good to go.
Okay, but if other people didn't understand it all, then you have a chance to talk about it when it comes up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You could, but I mean,
Because they haven't talked about
They
that
haven't-
either yet.
right.
Okay, so how come you didn't have a chance to talk about it?
Because
we
of
haven't got to
sunshine
that.
law, they can't.
Yeah, we can't speak to it because of the sunshine law. I can't call up Ms. Barrow and say, hey, and then we talk about it. We take an ethics class and swear we won't.
They're only allowed to talk about items that will be voted on in a public meeting.
That is correct.
That we all hear.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And it's recorded on that camera up there.
And it's streamed right away now.
So everything we say and do is open to the public. Absolutely.
Okay, I understand that now a lot better.
You can call me whenever you have a question. Again, anybody else have anything they'd like to talk about? By all means, come up. Come on up, ma'am.
Cynthia Rozo, owner of 1440 Dover Road,
Yes, ma'am.
owner of 2 commercial properties,
Yes, ma'am.
6213 East Highway 98
Yeah.
and 6021 East Highway 98. Before I make my comments, I just want to put this in a framework that I am new here. I'm coming from another community, and I've been told that Parker operates differently. But I think I'm still in America. Okay. So I just wanted to follow up on my 3 minutes given to me at the January 3rd meeting. It was regarding my husband and I getting a code violation for untended growth of grass and weeds at our commercial lot, 6021 East Highway 98. Today was the extended deadline for getting our commercial property out, which after locating landscapers, the job is 99% complete.
And it looks great, by the way.
I don't.
And it has already been prudent. And in a day or two, I might be able to tell you what happened because of it. But go ahead.
Well, I feel like I like my dog Fluffy, and when it gets all shaved down, I don't like it.
Well,
Okay, but, all right. Okay, but I want to comment on the experience of interfacing with the government here. Okay. We did state we felt singled out for our property being overgrown. So why was the code enforcement officer assigned to our case not flexible with the original January 3rd deadline? I had to call Stacy to whatever.
what did
plead on my
Stacy do?
behalf. Well,
Miss Galbraith you're referring to. You
Yes.
called Miss Galbraith, and what did she do?
Well, because Jim Talley was saying that he had a hard deadline, January 3rd. We had to get down here. If it wasn't done, it was hard. We were going to get charged $100 a day. Okay? And then I researched with Bay County code enforcement officers, and they say they work with the citizens who are charged with a code violation, and they're flexible.
Okay.
But I didn't get that flexibility until I called her.
In answer to your question, what I did was reached out to Jamie and asked if she could have a conversation with code enforcement and or you and see if there could be an extension granted. That's what I did.
Okay.
Okay, so when I met Mr. Talley in his office after that meeting, I was asking why he was being so hard about that deadline. And he was saying his supervisor, that he takes orders from his supervisor. And would that supervisor be you, Mr. Mayor? Me. You. Okay.
That's not the answer you wanted, is it?
Hey, I need
Go
my
ahead.
3 minutes. I'm trying to figure out how things work here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So at the January 3rd meeting, you cited a reason why we should cut the grass. You said people were robbing houses and hiding on our property. I made a public records request asking for the police incident reports along Highway 98 from the fork in the road, which is Cadillac Jacks, to the bridge. Thanks to the Parker Police, I was able to research the incidents for all of 2022. There are no robberies documented by the Parker Police. So I want to hold you accountable on what you say in
You
meetings.
certainly can, ma'am. In anticipation of this question, not everybody that's challenged by law enforcement goes to jail. So there's no permanent record made of that. But if you're a vagrant and you're walking down the side of the road and the officer stops you, you have been challenged by law enforcement and asked to leave.
And there's an incident report filed.
Not always.
It's my understanding an incident report.
Chief of Police, you here, sir?
I think he's speaking.
Okay, when he comes back in, I'll get you from
Okay.
his answer, not from mine.
All right. I did calculate the number of incidents of suspicious persons, suspicious vehicles, and trespassing thefts to see if any occurred near our property. There was only one incident all year of a vagrant being on our property. This incident occurred when you and George were touring the property on August 22nd.
Correct.
All right. You said 2 parcels on either side of our commercial property were issued code violations.
They were.
I only found one issued the same day as ours on December 16th.
I
Not
can't
2
tell you
months
that.
ago.
I don't know exactly where your land is. All I can tell you is everything that was waist deep got a code violation.
Okay. Well, I did some research on other vacant properties, made copies. I'm sorry if I'm the 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You've redacted everybody's name off this, right?
It's public record.
Well, I just don't like
Owners of properties? It's in the Bay County Tax Assessor's Office. So anyway, based on your theory that everyone near a high crime area, their property should be raised or untended grass and weeds should be mowed down. So I found some empty lots that I just wanted you to take a look at.
Those are all in Parker?
Yes,
Okay. Would you like those coded tomorrow?
I'm just saying, you look at it, because, all right. You said when people come off the bridge, they don't want to look at the bay and not see 4 feet of brush.
Right.
I have provided other vacant lots that are well over 4 feet that block views of the bay and have untended weeds and grass. These parcels are also located in high crime hotspots. So why not ask those property owners to mow down their brush for safety and so people can see the bay or get a good impression of Parker, okay? I think it would be best if you did it, since that seems to be a #1 priority for you.
Yeah, it's not for me, ma'am. When I ran for mayor, it was one of the 3 things the people of Parker asked for.
Okay, and I agree with it, but I just, there's something intimidating when the mayor cites you, all right? And then, if they want an extension, then maybe they won't get one. Or maybe they'll be bullied at a meeting if they ask for an appeal. Anyway, this city is always complaining it doesn't have the staff and wants to run the city like a business. I would suggest that the mayor prioritize more unsightly eyesores in Parker, like the La Brisa Motel, the white building next to the Masonic Temple, and the Fulcrum construction dump. So,
No, you mean Parker Village, on Tyndall Park where you're referring to, right?
which,
Bree's talking about Fulcrum.
La Brisa?
yeah,
Fulcrum's under construction.
well, it's still a construction dump when you drop. I read one of the LDRs is talking about construction being debris in front of your yard. I think it's all debris that they have as you drive by. Home Depot pushes it off to the back of their lot.
Okay.
Okay, anyway. And then why did it take the code enforcement officer all day to pull 20 to 25 public records? When the city gets an increase from the new tax, please consider upgrading the software for the code enforcement officers so they
Can I ask
operate
you,
more
what is
efficiently.
the point you're driving at?
I told you I was giving you my
Okay.
impressions.
Okay.
Feedback. I'm allowed.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you for cutting the grass. Today it's already paid off. And it will tonight. You'll be happy. The floor is open to anybody. By all means, sir.
Yeah, the last time I came, Jerry Forehand, my
Name
home
and
address.
address, sir.
My home address is 1005 South Kimbrell Avenue.
Yes, sir.
I live in Callaway. I own property in Parker. Likewise, the last time I came in, it only took you 2 days to code enforcement get me, and I felt that was retaliatory.
Did you?
But
How many times did he talk to you about it before it was mowed?
none.
None. Never.
Oh yeah, I've worked on it. I spent $18,000 on it.
Yeah,
but that's not what I'm
it
here to
wasn't
talk
the
about.
only time. It was
No.
numerous times.
No, but that was, and I'd already taken care of all that. Okay, anyway, that was not what I came to talk about.
Okay.
Okay. My wife and I, she's here with me today. We own the commercial property at 5005 East Business 98. It was commercial when we bought it 30 years ago, and it still is commercial. A buyer found me to purchase it, Dollar General. Neil Jones and I did everything possible to satisfy Parker, especially you, Mayor. After the first meeting with the mayor, mayor and council, this was Dollar General's first meeting. I was not apparently involved in it first. Tony Barrow went door to door immediately after that meeting and tried to build up resentment in the area to stop the sale. And why did she want to do that? Well, I'll just continue reading, please. I was told it was not to be discussed outside the meeting, according to Mr. Jones, who is the realtor that was taking care of it. And she was that day and the next day out canvassing her area, telling them not to vote.
That is not true.
That's
I
what-
never went out of my house to nobody's house.
All right,
And
then
it's
you,
not true.
then you did
I don't know
telephone
where you
calls.
got A.
Go ahead, sir, you got the floor.
Okay. We drew up plans 3 times. Dollar General drew up plans to satisfy you. You wanted, you were okay with the Dollar General, but you wanted the big Dollar General, which ended up forcing me to sell all of my property that I did want to reserve. We ended up drawing up the market store, the mayor's request. I was shocked when Mr. Jones called me and said that the council decided not to allow Dollar General to buy the property because of opposition. Now, I'm curious to know how many people were against it. And I'd like to know if I got 250 people to sign a thing, would that satisfy you that would want one? Would that satisfy you? You know, I don't know where to go. I haven't tried to sell it to anybody else. Right today, I met, not intentionally, I met Neil Jones in Home Depot. And I asked him, I said, tell me about what we've had going. He said, well, Dollar General still wants that piece of property. They came by and they said they thought I had found somebody that'd give me more money. Well, I was satisfied with the contract that I had with them. And I told him, I said, no, as far as I'm concerned, they could still do what they wanted to do and purchase that property if you would agree to it. I don't know if you I don't know if you got together as a group, but if it's in the minutes, I'd like to know, I'd like public records, if there's something that y'all did together to stop that.
There was a conversation between the city's attorney and the legal representatives of the Dollar General Corporation.
So nobody had any input.
There was
into that.
nobody in the room except myself and the clerk. We sat and spoke to nobody. It was all recorded. It's all above board.
Well,
And their
how
their
did he know? How did he know that
'Cause
there
it-
was such opposition? That
I don't know, but there. Go ahead,
May
sir.
I speak, Mayor?
Yeah.
Please.
I didn't say there was opposition to it. I simply advised them of the things that they were going to have to address in the land development regulations and in the community redevelopment area in order to proceed. They had not submitted a development application. There was nothing pending at the time. The city was simply being asked on a prospective basis what would be required. I simply was advising them as to the issues that they would have to address and perhaps overcome. And at that point, they left the room, and the next thing we understood was that they had decided not to purchase the property.
And the only story I got was there was opposition against it.
There was no council member in the room, none. None.
Well, that's the reason I'm here.
We had
my
conference
my
on the-
next question is then, can I have a list of what they have to do from you, sir?
It's in the land development regulations.
You know,
Everything
because
that is
they had,
required.
I'm sure they've
is
done
in
it
the land
because
development
they had already done the same thing over on 98, and I presume that it still falls under y'all's regulations. Is that correct?
That
It's
section
not
is
in the-
it's not
It's
part
not
of
in
the
the
CRA.
CRA.
So, Mr. Cohen, we had discussions.
We had multiple discussions with citizens that came up with opposition.
Individually, though, that wasn't the council.
It wasn't a council, like it wasn't
Decision.
on the agenda that I recall.
But-
There was citizen opposition.
I just would tell, being as that the last time you came here, you told us you had secured representation, so that's
Well,
why
I haven't.
I'm reluctant to, well, I don't
haven't.
think that's the case.
You know,
Because
that's-
Mr. Sloan has talked to your attorney.
Yes.
So that's why I'm reluctant to have communication with you, and I would advise the council not to, and
Yeah.
go through Mr. Sloan. That's why
I'm
we
not
have-
using anybody. I felt like that it was something that I was upset.
Well,
You know.
you said what you said, so I have to go with,
Oh, I
to protect the
understand.
city,
I
you
understand.
know?
Well, I'm also back
Yeah.
to talk, and I do not have legal representation.
Well, Mr. Foran, the issues that I advised the folks who were in attendance at that meeting, and you were not, I indicated some items in the land development regulations that they were going to have to address if and when they ever submitted an application for a development permit. I explained that to them. I explained the CRA to them and the overlay district that's set up by the CRA, and they apparently chose to move on. That was not
They're still wanting.
well, all I can tell you, Mr. Forehand, is I advised them of the situation of the LDR at the time. They left
Does-
that meeting.
Does the CRA involve everything on this side of the road
It's,
all the way to the end?
it's in the, on the maps, and the maps are online too. And I've ordered larger maps, they're coming in.
Okay, so does it involve the old First Baptist Church? Is that part of the CRA?
I don't know. That's not the CRA.
I think so.
map.
I mean, it should. It's got houses
No,
behind it.
you
It
can't-
probably
those-
does.
That's not the
I'd
CRA.
have to look at the map though,
This isn't
and
the
it's,
CRA map.
there's 3 areas of the CRA, but most of 98 is in the CRA.
Most of it, yeah.
I've come under some knowledge that maybe Family Dollar is trying to buy that piece of property. It's supposed to close.
Well,
Where's
again,
that at?
The
you're asking the
Baptist
council
Church.
to speculate on things,
Yeah.
Mr. Forehand, and they can't do that.
Yeah.
They have not been presented with an application for any development permit. They have not had the opportunity to have that permit application go through the planning commission and then recommendation to the council. So you're asking them, I think, to speculate on something of what can you do, and I would just suggest to you that perhaps you, if you want to make a public records request, you get a copy of the LDR from the clerk, and you take a look at it, and look at the CRA in particular, because that's
Okay.
where your property is located.
Okay. How long has it been in that CRA?
Since you've owned it.
Since the CRA was created, probably about 15 years ago.
15. Well, I've owned it 30.
The map says 2007.
Well,
Mayor, do you
15 years
remember
ago.
I guess
when
that's
you
right.
told me that there was opposition, that if all I had to do was to sue the city and I'd win?
Actually, I didn't, the last part you said, I did not say. What I said to you was, rather than disagree with me and argue with me, sue me.
And I would win. That's
What you said you were gonna do.
Yeah,
And so that's why I haven't spoke to you.
yeah.
And as long as you have an attorney, I'm not talking to you.
I don't have an attorney.
Well,
Yeah.
okay,
But,
sir.
but you
thank
did. You thought I did.
My
and I
words to you
did-
was, and
I-
obviously you didn't agree because you don't have an attorney, you said.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is an attorney that wrote me a letter.
A letter, and I've not heard from him. Would you believe that?
Well,
But that's between me and him, not between you and him. I knew he had written you a letter. I asked him to find out.
That was why I never returned your phone calls.
Not a problem.
And I left you a message saying that.
Yeah. Okay, I have one other question. Are there any Parker liens on the Rose property?
Yes. 25,000, I think.
That was 30.
Might be 30. It's about in that ballpark.
Is it still growing?
Oh, yes, sir. We're not gonna give
Well,
up.
I'm not, I was asked that question myself.
Yep,
And so I said, well, I'll find out
yep.
today. Okay.
And anybody could look that up. That lien is documented at the courthouse.
Yeah, yeah. I just haven't had time to look at it.
Right.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Forehand, I'd like you to find whoever that is and tell them to come to me, all these people, because I'd like them to come tell me that I went to their door when I didn't do it.
Okay, thank you.
Beverly Hutto, 1001 Park Street.
Yes, ma'am.
So, just so you know, there's about 500 plus residents that do not want
she
Dollar
needs to
General.
address the council.
And I'm gonna tell you why.
Miss
Miss
Hutto,
Address the council.
you've
Yeah.
gotta face
You gotta
us.
speak
and
to
talk
the-
about
Sorry.
things.
Well, let me do this, that way I can at least, I don't like to not do it and not make eye contact with the person I'm addressing. So, the deal with this is, you said you live over in Callaway, correct? Okay, so the Dollar General that we currently have in our city is a blight on our community, if you will. If you ask, you can go do the research. You may ask Cynthia to do it because she's hot on the research. You can go ask how many times our law enforcement is at that Dollar General on a regular basis. I cannot tell you, they have people up there stealing. They can take people from there 3 times a day, every day. And you know what? They're not, well, exactly. They're not Parker residents. So I think the concern is because that puts it right at the end of that road.
But I shouldn't be punished for somebody else's crime.
Well, no, you shouldn't, but I think if
But
there's
that's
enough,
why.
well, no, because if there's enough residents that say we don't want that there, then, you know, that's,
I know.
I don't know, I wanna say find someone else to buy the property
Right.
or
Yeah.
what have you.
City.
I'm not gonna buy it, I have
Ma'am.
nothing to put there.
Ma'am,
But
you can't give your opinion, you can only state facts.
Why can I
Well,
not
no,
give my
you
opinion?
can't project your opinion as the opinion of the city.
Right.
The city is not taking
No, I'm not
any
saying the
action
city.
on-
I'm saying as
for or against.
residents, there's a lot of us as residents that do not want that there. I could probably get 1,000 names signed on a piece of paper within a week that do not want that there. And I understand the gentleman wants to sell his property. That's A-okay, I get it. But a Dollar General there, that is, if you look up their marketing plan, they look for blighted areas, low-income areas, things of that nature. I will tell you, when I go to another city to visit, if I see a Dollar General first thing, I'm like, oh, this must be the low-income area. It's not a judgment thing. It's just that's where they tend to put their businesses. So to put that right there, to put that right there at the end of 22 in the middle of a bunch of residences does nothing but
Audience, please maintain some
does nothing
decorum so
but
the lady can
invite
speak.
the kind of traffic that we get at the one up on Tyndall Parkway. And I don't think that that's to be invited into our residences, which puts it in a more, you know, I'll say dense residence area. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. I am a little concerned, Mr. Fallhand, about your statement about Commissioner Barrow. You can back that up with fact.
Talk to her. I've not had the opportunity.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Jody Matakovich, 4808 East 3rd Street.
Yes, ma'am.
I just love the fact that that pile of trash is gone. Not the everything. That was sitting there my whole Christmas holidays.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There's also a pile of trash next door to me that as soon as y'all pick it up, they start it again. And
Okay.
it sits there the entire time. And I
Okay,
didn't
ma'am.
think that we were supposed to do that.
Yeah, no.
So
They
I'm
dumped
not-
an RV in your front yard, didn't they, one morning?
Well, that wasn't them. That was somebody else.
Ah, okay, yeah.
But they
Well, it's at the
had,
crusher.
unfortunately, those gentlemen thought they could make a little bit of money. They were fishermen.
Yeah.
And they were hard up for some money.
Yeah.
And they got that, and it broke there.
Yeah.
And they left it. They were there that night
know.
trying to fix it. So
Yes, ma'am.
in their defense.
Yes, ma'am.
But that person did come over and stick his nose into that business.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that's fine. I'm trying very hard to stay calm, and
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think I'm doing a really good job.
You're doing a great
I
job.
haven't called code enforcement, not even one time.
Yep, you did good.
What I would like to say is, if everybody would look at this picture, okay? This picture right here is right down the street from my house. This is the old this is the old fish house.
Yes,
Cat
ma'am. The old
Ned-
Davis, yeah.
Cat Ned owned this, okay? I live right over here. The Suggses, you know, there's probably more sunken little canoes in this bay when we were growing up. We would get 10 and we would make these little canoes, and Callaway, Cedar Grove, everybody came and we swam off of Mrs. Suggs' dock and we swam off of Mrs. Palmer's dock.
Nice.
You know, we got along. We took care of each other. We cared about our community. We did not. It wasn't about money. You understand that, sir?
Yeah.
When people needed it, we didn't care. What I would love to see in this developing of this community is not a bunch of stores like what we're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Up and down my main street.
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like Parker to
Look like that.
look like Parker.
Yes, ma'am.
At least this area.
Yes, ma'am.
This is where Parker started.
Yes, ma'am.
My mother, who's 92 years old, went to school on this ground.
Yes, ma'am. Right next door. We don't
Yes,
fire stations.
right.
Yep.
On this ground. She's 92 years old, and we walked here. you know, and so I'm just asking anybody that wants to sell property to try to consider the feelings of your neighbors. You know, think about what it's going to do. Just whatever it is, just think about what it is going to do. We say we're a community. Let's keep it a community. And there's business. There's a whole highway out there. Highways where there can be businesses all over the place. But let's keep our community a community and
Yes,
get
ma'am.
along with each other. You know.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you.
Thank you for your time. Go ahead, sir.
David Marlowe, 5103 Stratford Avenue. I went to Fulcrum's the other day, which is not Fulcrum no more, it's Builder Supply.
Yeah, they got bought out. Yeah.
Fantastic. They're way bigger, Builder
Yeah.
Supply. I talked to the people, I looked at their concrete, the slab's been poured since just after the first of the year.
Irons up.
And they told me that it'll be in the building, middle of February, and they want that tent gone, they want it to look nice.
Yep.
And I love it. It saves me from having to drive to 23rd Street to buy a piece of lumber.
Yes, sir.
Much as I love Ace, they don't have lumber.
Right.
So I think it's great. I mean, some people don't like it, but I do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead. Anybody have anything else?
I have one other thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I bought the lot across the street from me.
Yes, ma'am.
And because it was overgrown, and I was concerned about who might buy it and what might happen to it. It was being used for people to go over, and I found old mattresses and everything.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been trying to have it cleaned up.
Yes, ma'am.
My mother and I have paid. We have how many toilets? I think we get $350 a year per toilet, right? Between the two of us, we have maybe 6 or 7. When the young man was trying to clean the lot for me, the city of Parker would not pick up any. She said they wouldn't pick up any of the debris. So, is that okay? I mean, like, can I get any kind of help from anybody on that? Because I am trying to clean that lot up, and I don't intend to sell it to somebody that's going to put a garage or a, beat up trailer or anything else. I bought it so that somebody decent could live there.
Tomorrow at your convenience, give the clerk a call and we'll see what we can do to help you
Okay,
out.
thank you very
That'll be
much.
okay. No promises. Just
Thank you.
okay. Anybody else? Okay, we've got 5 items on the agenda. We'll try to move through them pretty quick. 4535 East. The what? Oh gosh, it went on for so long.
Think about the next minutes.
Yeah, that's right. We need to go through approval of the minutes for January 3rd and January 9th.
And
No.
I just so you know, I corrected Mr. Chappell was here for the employee handbook.
Okay, thank goodness. Council?
I'll make a motion that we approve as
With the correction, okay.
Second.
First and second, call a roll, please.
Ms. Burrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes, thank you very much, Council. The first item on the agenda is 4535 East Business Highway 98, Mr. Winkle. He has a pot on his piece of property that I guess from reading the minutes from the last couple of meetings, it was supposed to have been moved already. Mr. Winkle's here if you'd like to come to the podium, sir.
The pot is being moved. It should be within the next couple of days on January the 9th. Both my parents contracted the coronavirus, so it's kind of got me behind the ball, but we're getting it moved for you.
What day is it going?
Give me 5 more days because they're still coming out of it because they were quarantined for the 5 days. So I'm hoping to get Dad back tomorrow. We have to pull everything out of the Connex box. He's going to separate what he wants, what he doesn't want, have the Connex box moved to the new location, and that'll be it. I'm hoping we can find some help for getting the antiques out of the Connex box. That's going to be my next step.
So we're saying 7 days would do it?
I would per se so, yes.
Okay, Council, if you don't agree, say something, but I'm willing to give you 7 days. On the 7th day, if it's not done, White's is gonna move it.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Council,
So the 24th.
whatever that works
Which is
out to
next
be.
Tuesday.
A week
That's
from
7
tonight.
days.
Yep, sounds great.
If it's not done by that day, no matter what happens, White's is gonna wind it up, contents, no contents going.
No problem.
Fair enough.
So,
Thank,
well, I think we have to have a motion for that, don't we?
oh, yeah, okay.
So I'll make a motion to extend your, I think it was a permit, to extend the permit for 7 more days. And if it's not removed in 7 days, it'll be removed by the city.
Fair enough.
Ms.
I'll
Burrow.
second it.
Second, call roll, please.
Ms. Burrow.
Yes.
Mr. Chapel.
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith.
Yes.
Ms. Gibson.
Yes.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Winkle.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. This is for 505 Horn Avenue. It's, request for a lot split.
My name is Richard Conroy. I'm
How you
at
doing, sir?
4539 Horn Avenue.
Yep.
My mother and I, several years ago, after the storm, bought a half-acre lot. I may not have all my property terminology correct, so it was half-acre. It's a half-acre parcel. It's owned by one man. She bought it. It's lots 8 and 9. We'd like to turn it back into 2 quarter-acre lots.
Like residential lots.
Like residential lots.
Okay.
We have no plans for it,
Right.
but we want to get ahead of this now that we know there's a process to go through
Yes, sir.
to turn it into.
So my understanding, and anybody in the council, please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sloan, even if you divide the lot and make 2 residential lots, you still can't have an RV on each one.
We cannot.
No.
Okay, then we won't. Can we have one on one lot?
Only if you're building a house back and you're living in it.
Gotcha. So,
It's not RV parking.
all right. First, let's get this. We do want to split the lots. I will take both RVs off.
Yeah.
So, is it a problem for us to split the?
If each lot is 7,000, how many square feet is the whole property? Half acre, that'd be about
Yeah.
2,000, 2,100.
That's 21,000 square feet.
21,000 square feet.
Yes.
So it's 10.
That's more than 10. Yeah, you could get 3 lots out of that probably. But if you're gonna split 50-50, you don't need a small scale development. You
that's-
can legally do that.
That's
Am I compliant, Mr. Sloan? Yep,
Yes, sir.
that's what the
So
LDR says.
we talked to Bay County, we just need a letter from y'all to be able to do
Ms.
that.
Correa in the office, if you'll come see her, the planner, and she'll take care of those documents so you can take them to they have to have a letter from us to get it moved forward.
Correct,
But you can't leave the RVs on the lot because you're not building right now.
correct.
So
So, I'll take the RVs off the lot, that's not a problem.
that's great.
Didn't know it was gonna be an issue, or you thought it
All
was
right.
just good storage.
That's
So,
great. Thank you,
y'all very
sir.
much.
Yes, sir.
So I'm assuming we need a motion
You
for
need
that
a
as well?
motion to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm premature again.
You're just in a hurry.
I make a motion
I am.
to split the lot at
4505
Horn
Horn
Avenue.
Avenue.
To
You're gonna do it 50-50?
roughly equal
Yes, we are.
size.
Into roughly equal size.
That's
Just so you
the
stay at
paperwork I
7,500
gave you
square
to, exactly, whatever it is.
So you gotta have 7,500 square feet for a house. So approximately each one is gonna be 50-50 of the lot. So you'll have more land than you have to have for each one, which is okay. I mean, a
Whatever
big
the,
yard.
whatever the property is, it's gonna be
You
divided.
gonna build a couple nice
equally.
houses?
We just wanna sit on it for right
Oh,
now.
okay.
My mother actually owns it.
Yeah.
She wants to leave it to my children as
Perfect.
an inheritance,
Perfect.
and that was gonna be hard to do
Yep.
as one parcel.
You did the right thing.
So we didn't
Very
know
good.
this was gonna be this kind of issue till
Yeah.
I put the 2 travel trailers down on my mother's lot for storage,
Right.
and now I'll correct that myself.
Yes, sir. It won't be a problem.
I have a motion by Ms. Gibson.
You got a motion on the floor.
I second.
Got a second to allow you to split those lots. Would you call the roll?
Ms. Burrow.
Yes.
Mr. Chapel.
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith.
Yes.
Ms. Gibson.
Yes.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank
You
you
own
very
2
much.
babies. All right. Let me see here. 307 Black Shear. Miss Mitchell. There she is.
She handed out.
I know, and I read most of it.
It was very helpful.
It was
In
very
the interest
helpful.
of time, I tried to make it as brief as
Thank you
possible,
for
so
that.
you kind of bring it to speed on, that's a reminder of why I was here originally and
Yes,
why
ma'am.
I'm back again tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
I had hoped to have a building permit, application in hand by the end of 2022, but I'm not quite there yet. The document that I left there kind of pinpoints a few of the reasons that, that I am requesting another extension. I also included with that, a copy of a an email that I received from the architect that's actively working on the project.
Yes, ma'am.
He was out of commission most of 2022 due to illness, but he's back in business now. So he's actively working on a house plan design.
Yes, ma'am. It's the M&M, right? The blue header? Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
it's Mark Mercer. And I also spoke, the document I think reminds that my original contractor is, I had to find another contractor.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a very good lead on a prospective contractor. I've spoken with him, he's been to the property. He's waiting on finalized plans from the architect so that he can give me a building cost estimate. And if we come to an agreement, he has already said he has no, there'll be no delays. He could start right away once we make our agreement. So a lot has happened since I was here last. Some of it was the setbacks, but the last 2 months, a lot of progress has been made. And so I'm real sure that now that I've got the architect back on the project and I think a contractor, pretty sure of that, things will start happening a lot quicker. And I, rather than ask for a short extension in order to get the building permit application in, I'd like to ask for the year extension, and I expect by that time to have not only the building permit request, but the permits in place, the site prepared, and hopefully construction underway.
Very good.
That's after talking with both the contractor and the architect. And I have some like examples of some of the plans they're working on and stuff if you need that much detail, but.
I'll make a motion to extend the request for 1 more year. I'd like to add a caveat though that you give an update at this
Quarterly?
6-month quarterly.
Sure, sure.
To the
Come
city
before us,
I
give us
think
an
I'll be
update.
glad to then.
Okay. So the motion
Second.
is, got a second. Call a roll, please.
Ms. Burrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. You got a
Thank you
year.
very much.
Yep. Okay. Item 4 is going to be continued. Apparently, they're working with EPCI to obtain the permits that they needed to produce to the city council. That's what I was told today. 5661 East Highway 98, the reliable properties they want to, yes, sir, come to the podium, please.
Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you, sir.
Wonderful.
I gave everybody the draft from planning regarding
Well,
this.
and I would just like to clarify, this is not here in the normal process of you reviewing a development permit. This was the planning commission asked for a preliminary read on one particular issue from the city council relative to the application of the CRA standards in general, not just to this project. So that's really the context that it's coming in. The planning commission has yet to make a decision pending a request to y'all to take a look at the land development regulations and either confirm that that you are still in agreement with what it says, or if you want to change it, then you would have to have an ordinance to change it. These provisions of the CRA have been in effect since 15 years ago. When the CRA came in, they were in effect in the 2012 version of the land development regulations, and they are in effect in the new version that was adopted in November. They weren't changed. So just to reiterate the conceptual issues, just to have you either confirm or decide you want to change those. Conceptually, the sub area 2 that this property would sit in indicates that it is intended to redevelop over time through a combination of public and private investments into low and high-rise mixed-use buildings with retail, restaurant, personal service, office, and residential uses. And then the architectural style that you all established 15 years ago was the use of common set of colors and building materials should be maintained for building facades to create a consistent and traditional architectural identity. The high-rise building should be designed to step back the upper floors from the right-of-way to create an open ambiance at street level. Significant separations of buildings should also be provided to allow for view corridors to the water. You also have a building use mix, pedestrian mobility, parking, streetscapes with landscape and stormwater provisions, all within sub-area 2, which, as I say, effectively came in roughly 15 years ago, and they have been the way they are written ever since. So the Planning Commission wanted to have the council decide if that's still the vision of the CRA, and if so, to just give that indication. And if not, then I would say that you would have to enact an ordinance to change the overlay district within that sub-area, as well as the other sub-areas which are all within the CRA. So that's the context that it comes to you all in. I am not one to give advisory opinions.
Sir, what did the planning council speak to you about?
The CRA
Yeah,
and what it
that's
entails.
it.
And have you read that?
Yes.
You have?
Yes. So
Okay.
East Side Storage was there before the hurricane.
Yes.
The hurricane tore it up.
It did.
East Side Storage is still there.
Part of it's still there, the center part.
Right.
What,
And the
what part of
building,
it?
the center part.
I went there
The
today
office.
and all I could see was a foundation. That's not 51%.
We have the original building where the heating area is. You go with cost per square foot, at least half there, because the expensive part is where the office is.
Okay.
Now, the
You know, you
building's
can't
about
use, you
1/3
can't
of-
use
of-
the slab over. The slab's
Pardon?
gotta go.
Pardon?
You can't use the slab over. EPCI said that all of those foundations are cracked. They gotta be, you can't use them over. They gotta go.
For a storage facility?
I didn't write the CRA.
So who do we talk to use common sense?
You're talking to him, sir.
Okay, well, you mean tell me that because it's there and it's old, it's gotta be torn up?
I'm saying if it's cracked, it
It's
doesn't
not
mean.
cracked.
You're an engineer and you graduated from where?
I can get an engineer if you want me to.
Okay. So what you're asking the council, you're the owner?
Yes.
Okay. You're asking the council to tell you if they're gonna allow you to put pole barns back there. Is that correct?
Well, I think we used the wrong terminology. It said pole barn. We said we should have replaced the buildings there. And we are gonna use a metal building. The pole goes into the ground, whereas before it was tied from the top to the concrete. Now we dig
So
it
there are
hole.
wooden pole construction is what it's
Yes,
gonna be.
but we have metal around the metal top.
Yeah.
And doors.
So if he's changing his development, does he just need to go back to the council, to
just-
the planning
It's a
commission?
storage facility.
Well, there are a number of issues that need to be addressed and decided by the Planning Commission, but they were looking at a conceptual discussion and request to y'all to either decide that those provisions of sub-area 2 in particular, but also the overall CRA, that those are still the vision of the council for the CRA area. And if not, then I'm suggesting to you that you would need to amend your CRA provisions to provide whatever other vision you may have.
I
But
mean, you're trying to beautify Parker, right?
those
So if it's
provisions
just-
have been in effect for approximately 15 years.
So if we don't enclose these, outside storage looks terrible. If you're trying to beautify, we
You're-
want to enclose these.
But your
We want-
application says pole barn.
Pardon?
Your application says pole barn.
I know that. We made a mistake there. That was
It
our
also
fault.
says for
We
personal
just said
It
metal
also
building.
says personal use, which he indicated was
It's a
not
storage
going to
for,
be the
for
case.
automobiles and things like that.
They're gonna be
Not
both
personal use.
rental.
No,
They're
no.
It says personal
It won't be
use.
air
And I called
conditioned.
Melissa last week, or this week, and updated that last week, I believe it was.
Yeah.
In
There's a
that-
storage
in
shed.
the CRA,
It's
that
not a
there
house.
is not supposed to be any storage units.
Right.
Correct, that's
Well, then why
why,
do we have the storage unit in the CRA right in the middle of town?
Because that was before the.
It predated the
It's
CRA.
predated the new LDR.
That
Well,
change
still
was
have
made
units there.
after
There's 15
that
units
development
there
came in.
already.
Those were already there before we did the CRA, those
Right.
storage sheds
It
were
built
down.
in '78.
Yeah, the CRA, when the CRA came in and you all not you all personally, but the council established the vision for the city within the CRA, it was predicated upon beautifying the city, removing the blight within the city, which the court determined existed, and providing a long-term plan for the city. Those plans, which again are specified in the land development regulations, as I say, have been in effect for approximately 15 years. So the question becomes, are they still the vision that you want for the city, to have a mix of buildings along the right-of-way with retail, restaurants, offices, and
Sir?
residential uses, or do you want something different?
Sir, come to our place and look around. Look at the buildings already there. Ours look as good as any of them, or better.
I'm simply providing what
I
the
understand
land
what you're
development
saying,
regulations
but
say.
I'm being practical.
Prime example is that the gentleman that needs to get rid of the 2 RVs out of his lot. You want them parked in outside storage where you can see them, or would you rather have them enclosed?
But the whole
We can't
point
have
of
them there
the
anyway.
The whole point of the
East
CRA.
side storage is still there, Pam. We're still
The
operating
office is
east
still
side
there.
storage.
And we have,
No, I'm saying you're asking about the 2 RVs. I said they're not allowed to be on the property to begin with.
I'm saying to store them. Would you rather have them on outside storage where everybody drive by and they see them, or would you rather have them enclosed? I mean, I
That's
thought the
not
whole
the
purpose
option.
we
was
just
to
want to
be
put our
outside
buildings
storage
back
wouldn't
like
be
it was,
allowed.
more or less.
The question for the council, independent of these gentlemen, the question is what is in your land development regulations that has been there for many, many years? Is that still the vision for the CRA? And if so, then they stay in effect and that those requirements are still valid.
If it was up to me, I'd make it even more stronger than what it is. That's what I have to say about that. I understand that you've been there
For years.
for years, probably
Decades.
longer than a lot of us. Yeah,
Yes.
probably. The
40-something years.
the hurricane just annihilated Parker, right? Along with
Oh, yes.
everything else.
Yeah, about $6 million worth of damage, I'm very
Everything
aware.
on this side of the bridge. I understand. We're trying to make Parker to grow and develop in a way that it's not storage sheds, it's not, that it is a more,
It's not blighted anymore.
I understand that, but I'm serious. Go look at the buildings around us. Right now, even we have a building there, it looks nicer than anything around us.
But as
Well,
the
I
property's
100% agree.
redeveloped, they have to comply with the current land development regulations.
Got a trailer park across the way there, you got beat up service station,
Goat
got a
farm.
torn down, yeah.
That's Callaway.
Two blocks down, there's a lumber yard with pole barns in it. I mean,
So really, that ours looks as nice as anything around it, maybe nicer.
So again, the only question that the planning commission was really asking, it was an advisory opinion of, do you enforce the existing LDR as it's written, or do you want to change it? And if so, I'm suggesting that you have to change it by ordinance. So if you have a different vision than what's in here, more
So-
stringent or less stringent, then you would have to change the land development regulations to
so you're saying that even
comply.
though he has his storage unit there now,
More than 50, his property was
than-
destroyed more than 50%, or the rebuild would be more than 50% of the property, and therefore he has to comply with the current code.
Oh, I don't believe that.
Sure, the
50%,
building's
we're
gone.
above 50%.
The building's gone.
There's the main offices there and 15 other storage sheds. It knocked down 4 storage
The
sheds.
expensive part of something is the air
Mayor,
conditioning part
this
where
shouldn't
it's
be
got
an
all
argument.
facilities. And the
This-
storage
this
shed
is
is
not
just
an
a
argument.
tin building,
It's not
nothing
an
there.
argument.
This
No,
is
that's really
the
no-
the council, this
Yeah.
is the council weighing in, either if you
Are we
intend to
gonna follow
enforce the
LDR, or we're
provisions
gonna
of the
make a change to the
LDR,
LDR?
then
That's
no
right.
action needs to be taken.
Right.
If you want to change the provisions of the LDR, then you would need to direct me to write whatever provisions you want to write.
Well.
So,
So this couldn't be grandfathered in.
You have to comply with the current LDR.
Right. Well, everybody else is being asked to comply with the current LDR, so I'm gonna have to insist that you guys comply with it too. It's only fair.
We're defeating the purpose of what
Thank you,
you're trying to
guys.
do.
Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Do we have to vote on that?
If there's no motion to change it, then it stands the way it's written.
Okay, there's no motion, there's no nothing from the council? Nothing? Okay. Moving along. You should have before you today, it was my fault, it was late, February's 17th, January the 17th Personnel Policy Manual. We're going to continue that till the 7th of February, so everybody has an opportunity to go ahead and continue their review.
Okay.
Hopefully we can put that back. Is it the 7th?
sorry?
The 7th of February?
isn't
Yeah.
it?
We'll put it on the agenda for the 7th of February. Apologize for that, but it's my fault. So, I'm gonna go over the task list. I don't have the new one with me, I only have the one, is it the same as the one on my document? Yeah, more or less. It's hard for me to read this little writing. No, you didn't print it for me?
They have a bigger one.
Okay, nice.
Mr. Sloan has a giant one.
Does he?
What do I have?
That big task list underneath your pile right there. It's the long one.
There you go.
Here, Mayor, you can have mine.
Thank you. So the changes to the 5 and 10-year plan, do we have those? Any changes? Do we have that list? Probably need to have a workshop, right?
That's what we said at the last meeting.
So do we have a date? You want to do it now that everything's been put to bed?
Well, I think it's kind of crucial now that we have potential money coming in. I think that we.
Have a 5 and 10-year plan? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we sometime in February have a workshop, do you think? And can we not firm a date today, because I'll be traveling out of state for a week of that month, and I'm not positive, but I'll know tomorrow what that's gonna be. And I'll work around you if I need to, but I'd like to travel out of the state for a week in February.
Do you want to just let Jamie know that date, and then maybe she can reach out to all of us?
Yeah,
and try
that
to
would
set it
probably
up?
be best, yeah, if that's good for everybody.
During the day, is that the best?
The Lake Drive is not resurfacing, we're gonna repave that street, we're gonna take it up, right,
I
Mr. Summerlin?
spoke with Mr. Summerlin, and he said the road is going out for bid.
Yeah.
Now, the last update from the school is they were still working on their pond, but he's going ahead with bidding for the
Okay.
road resurfacing.
All right, did you get a chance to go to school board meeting?
It has been handled.
Okay, sounds good,
So they
No need
already
to talk-
have the list going.
good.
It's on the list, it's gonna happen.
Okay, great job. The stormwater master plan, I feel like at this point now we're moving forward. We probably need to bring Miss Moore in. She's not available the first week of February. I feel like it's time that somebody sat down and showed the city council what the stormwater master plan is gonna look like. Ms. Galbraith's reached out to her,
Well-
I've reached out to her, Ms. Galbraith's reached out to her, it still hasn't happened, am I right, more or
Well,
less?
and I apologize. The last meeting I told you guys I would send you what she sent me, and I failed to do that.
That's okay.
So I just made myself a note. I will do that tomorrow morning.
Okay. The procedure manual, I don't know anything on that. Where are we at, Madam Clerk?
We said we were not going to do it until after the handbook.
Okay. So after the 7th, we'll address the procedure manual. And the fee schedule.
We wanted it added to the task list. Last meeting, Mr. Sloan said fees can be increased 5% every other year.
I'm looking for a complete fee schedule.
Yeah.
Everything we charge. That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
What do we charge for impact fees? What do we charge for water deposits? What do we charge for
Okay.
minor developments, major developments? I'm looking for the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Business licenses, dog,
Because some of it's
Tag.
not sufficient. Some of it is such a small amount.
but like he said, we
You
can
can't
only
make changes.
increase
But
5%.
$4.90 a year for a rental license to make.
But I
have
think
it.
there's other fees that we could potentially
There are
change,
some,
but-
yeah, there are.
Yeah, particularly the development fees, Mayor, because
Yes.
it's costing you more in
To
engineering
review it in
fees
engineering, yeah.
than you're charging, and I
Right.
think that you have to.
What is the current charge, like $1,500? It probably be closer to 10,000 to get started.
It's $1,000.
$1,000.
But we do keep tabs on what we've spent for each
They're supposed to
development.
pay us back anything above that 1,000. Now, do they? I don't know.
We send them bills.
We send them a bill, right?
Um,
Okay.
I'm gonna back up 1 second to the stormwater.
Yeah.
I'm sending it right now so that I don't forget. But she also did indicate that she would have the task order that we sent to her
Yeah.
complete by the end of this month.
Okay.
So
January.
yes, sir.
Okay.
So can we look forward, like, maybe the next meeting we set up a
February, she
time?
won't be here then. She can't show up. I want her to be here when we have these documents so she can explain
She
herself.
can't be in here in February?
She won't be here the first week of February. Won't be available.
Okay,
Talked to her today on a different issue.
okay. Well, if we can
Isn't that the second week, maybe?
make a note
Is it the
that,
second week, the 7th?
Yeah, the first week is first, second, third. I mean, it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
The first full week, but
How
it's
about I
the-
find
really
out
the
when
second.
she's available and I'll reach out to the clerk, have the clerk send that availability to you. Because I feel like it should be a workshop
She can be here for the 21st.
the 21st. That's
can
what
we,
she told me
can we
today.
put that on the schedule and that
Or do you
way
want to
it's
have a
done?
workshop? Because there's a lot to cover.
If we're gonna ask her to come for the 21st, can we clarify that she's gonna have that task order complete by
Yep,
then?
I'm with you. Ms. Heinrich, will you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. And then the last thing on this list is the zoning changes.
So, I think that needs to be, well, we had talked about,
That was in my court because I was intended to go to the, I'm sorry?
TCO?
Yes, I was intended to go to that meeting and something
Sorry.
came up and I was unable to attend, so I did not reach out
Everybody's
to them.
busy.
But I also feel like I need a little more clarification before I just ask them to do some random work. I think I need to know exactly what y'all want from them. Do we only want them to look at zoning? Or they had thrown out many things that they could look at. One of them was comparing our LDR to the comp plan. I know that we have the planning commission also working on that.
Right, right. Rager said he was gonna take care of that. This is free from them too, isn't it?
They indicated that they were pretty sure that they could get
Grant for
grant
it.
money to
Right.
cover it.
Could you make sure that they have that grant secured before they start the work?
I can ask that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
is my direction to request not only that they look at zoning, but also to look at the comp plan and the LDR?
Let me reach out to Mark Rager before we decide to see where he's at with that. I haven't discussed anything with Rager for a month, and that would be a good thing, I think,
We've
to do.
gotten through most.
they've gotten through a
Have
lot
they?
of it.
Okay.
They're
then-
almost to the end, right? Yeah.
Correct.
They're pretty close.
Okay. Well, then maybe somebody can give me a briefing on that, and we could, well, get Rager to come and speak to the council. That'd be the easiest thing to do. Okay, well, that's good. That's a savings.
So, I would like to see about adding, possibly getting a grant writer.
Can
for
we
the
wait till we
city.
get the first flow of revenue? And I think it should be a part-time grant writer. I've called the beach, talked to the people down there, they use a part-timer, and by that, it's like 30 hours a week. And, in order to pay a grant writer right now, we're gonna have to cut 1 or 2 employees, to cover the cost.
Unless we have a grant writer that does it on, a percentage of the
I would
grant.
absolutely support that right now today if you can get one, but the beach did not have that success when they reached out for that.
So I would like to tag on to that because I think that if we're not proactive and start this now,
Mhm.
that we're gonna be behind the 8 ball when we start having money available. And if we don't turn that revenue into grant money, we're still not gonna have enough money. So
Right, we're not gonna have enough anyway, but if we use some of it to obtain grants, it will go so much further, you know, depending on what the subject matter is.
Well, and
I sent a grant request to Jamie in December, and it appeared to me like it could potentially be some good grant money, and it was an 80-20 split. But it was kicked back to me to decide what to submit. Well,
What was the grant for?
I can't submit that.
What was it for?
I passed it on to. So I think that having somebody in charge of that, when there's money available that we can get, it was an
Yeah.
80-20 split, that we should consider doing that.
Yeah, so the grant writer at the beach, I can only address them, they search out the grants after you determine what you're looking for. So,
everything.
Which is why we
well,
need a
no,
5
it's
to
not
10-year
everything, because we
plan.
wouldn't be, available to get. Mr. Summer, go ahead, you have the floor.
So the grant that she's talking about, the 80-20 split, we have to submit 3 projects to them for this grant. But with those 3 projects, we have to have cost analysis, what it's gonna be and everything like that. So my comment back when we got this to the clerk is that would require us tasking the engineer to get those costs and everything together for us to submit for those projects.
So we have to pay for that up front.
So we have to, there again, add more to Miss Moore to get these done, and these have to be done by the middle of next month.
But so maybe we can't do that one. But if we don't start that process,
Correct.
we are never
These
going to have a
grants
list.
take 8, 9, 10, a year, year and a half, 2 years to get some of this money.
And
if-
my recommendation would also be that we consider, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 million just sitting, if I'm not mistaken.
Can't use that for a match.
Can't use that,
Um,
not for match, only a buyout or payout.
why?
The LMS money,
Because that's
it's
one of the
forgiven,
ARPA
it's not forgiven.
But you could use that money to get shovel-ready projects, and that's what you gotta have to get a grant. If you got the engineering and the shovel-ready with a cost,
Depending on the grant.
we can submit the projects.
Now, one thing that Mr. Summerlin, you can give me an update on this. Some time ago, I applied for a grant to buy Cherry Lane townhomes. Where are we now? Are we less than 8th in the nation?
Yes.
We are now less than 8th in the nation. That the federal government will give us the money to buy the Cherry Lane apartment complex. So if that is a thing, and that really happens, when, I don't know, they're gonna ask, we have to provide 20%, was it, Tom, without a match grant?
It's 25 match.
25 match. So when we applied for it, it's 8 million, was it?
I believe it's 3.2.
3.2 million that they would give us. At that time, the properties were appraised at 35, and they're a lot more than that now. And that's the problem with a grant. The time that it takes to obtain the grant, the prices of everything have gone up, so we don't have the money to pay the match. That's why we need a savings account, so we have that availability. Because what happens if you submit a grant and you get it, and you accept it, and you don't finish the grant, then you won't get another one. They won't let you have another one if you dance the dance with them. So we got to make sure when we pick what we're going to pick that we use the money wisely. And if we say we want it, that wasn't through LMS, was it? I don't remember even who I wrote it through. Was it through LMS? Okay. So I'm back on that now. I'm really, really pushing LMS again for Parker. But some of the grants you have to have the match. And if you accept the money and don't have the match, then that agency won't let you won't let you have another grant through them. So we've got to be real sure. That's why if you have a grant writer, that grant writer hopefully will take care of all of that for us. Only that person will know how much money we have in savings or available, or how much we have coming in and how much they can afford to spend. And under the guidance of the council, you could say, we want to pave 11 roads, and if that grant money is available, then they can get that match money. So that way, we instead of paving 1 or 2 roads with 300,000, we throw that in for the match, and then we'd get 11 roads done for that price. That's the difference. But it is a full-time job, or at least a part-time being 30 hours a week, because they're going to have other clients, not just us.
I think we need to move forward with it. I think that there was so much money that got dropped from the stimulus with Biden that I believe there was a chunk of money that, I mean, obviously we didn't have the match money, we had no money coming forward, but even the things that, some of the people that I've spoken to were like, well, some of these, they will write off. Yeah, it's 25%, but they would go ahead and look at your situation and say, okay, we'll go ahead and we'll waive the 25%. We'll give you the whole thing, or it's only 5%, or they'll move it around, and so there's options, and there's grants that you can get for the matching.
That is true.
For matching.
You can.
So if we can get Cherry Lane Apartments for $3.2 million, and we can find a grant that will match the 25%,
Now,
then we're taken care of.
Mr. Summerlin will verify. I don't remember the exact date, but I applied for that grant 8 years ago. Took me 8 years to get there, and we're still, I think, less than number 8 in the nation. And we might this year see the opportunity to get that money. We talked about it today. I don't know if we could just say buy the people out that wanted to be bought out, and then leave the rest standing. I don't know.
Well, I think what you're saying is driving home the point, like we need to start working on it. We need a plan, we need to know some projects, we need to get some cost analysis.
We need a
and
planner.
we need to start working on getting a grant writer. So how can we do that going
I'm
forward?
not a planner, but a grant writer.
Can we place an ad? Do we try to place an ad for somebody who will do it on a percentage basis?
Percentage basis, I think we should start yesterday. If we can find one person that will do that. But if we got to pay them, it won't be this year. We don't have it for this year.
You said that the the beach was using somebody part-time.
They are.
Um,
You want me to reach out and find out the name of that person? I didn't ask him that.
Maybe that could be something that we could consider. Maybe we look
Okay,
at how
and our
much
book,
they're paying
and our
for
accountant
part-time.
Suzanne, mentioned that she might know some people also when I had a conversation with her. But I will reach out to the beach if you want me to.
I think
And
that'd be
ask the
good.
mayor down there who he uses. And then, and the only reason I'm saying that is not for any particular reason other than in the quarterly mayor's meeting, he impressed me with how impressed he was with that lady's job. That was, and he's getting a lot of things that he never would have gotten. Ms. Barrow, any thoughts?
Jamie, we're gonna add that to the tax list then. Thank you.
Okay, Ron, you got anything to talk about? Yes,
Nothing
ma'am, go
other
ahead.
than, end of the month, we have our town hall meeting. If you got any gripes or whatever,
Or not, right?
bring them forward to us. I was gonna tell you we're gonna have a steak meal, but, we can't afford it, so come out anyway.
Yes, ma'am, you have a question?
Yeah, Patricia
sorry,
Posick,
Stace.
1344 Stratford. I think this goes to what Diane asked earlier, hearing the discussion about the grant writer and all that. I understand that and the need to get some additional funding. But this is the first I've heard that the city would like to buy Cherry Lane. When was that discussed?
About 12 years ago.
Okay, and as a current resident, what would we do with it?
We would dig a hole. We would bulldoze the buildings, and it would be water retention for that watershed, because we didn't know at that time that we bought the Melinde property, which by the way was a bargain, that we would have a need. We thought we would get the grant quicker from DEO to be able to buy Cherry Lane, because back in those days the flood would get as deep as the doorknobs on their houses.
Yeah.
And the plan was, rather than pump it out 5 times a year, and anybody tells you it's not going to flood again is not telling you the truth. It
Yeah, I know
will
that.
flood again.
Yeah.
If you build below grade,
Right.
it will flood again. So the plan was to write a grant, and we went through a lot of work to put that on the local mitigating strategy, because it's a strategy. If we stop mitigating, it's going to happen again. That's the reason they give us the money. The money only becomes available when there are events that all of the expenditure is not spent. So, for example, if Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans happened, and the feds put up $50 billion, and they only spent $49 billion, the rest is spread out across the nation with other projects for LMS groups.
Sure.
And we have an LMS group for Bay County. And so that funding is then spent through FEMA and given to LMS. And then the LMS in each county that gets it uses it for projects. And I put on the projects years ago, we would like to buy Cherry Lane, because there was no way we could stop what we were doing, and we were spending a fire engine. It's funny you should mention this. I just reviewed a letter from 2006 from Mayor Hendricks directing me not to use the fire engine anymore to pump water from Cherry Lane, because it was hard on the engine to continually pump millions and millions of gallons of water. So we thought that if we bought out the apartments, bought out the property, bulldozed the property, it would make a beautiful retention pond. And then time went by and we didn't get selected, and now we're on the list for selection.
Okay, so all that
That's in a
said,
nutshell, you know.
and I understand all that, and I haven't driven down there in quite a while, but again, I think you just said you think the property's now at 32 million, that's the assessed
No,
value.
no,
So
3.2 million.
3.2 is the, okay. How much in fines, code enforcement fines, are currently pending against those property owners that is due to the city? Are there any?
That's a question I'll have to look and see the answer.
Okay, I mean,
ma'am. I don't know off the top of my
I'm
head.
somewhat saying that rhetorically, because it seems like I've read something recently where there was assessed like $35,000 in fines, and it was reduced to $7,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't
That
know
happens sometimes.
why. Okay, maybe it does, maybe it shouldn't, because again, how much assessment over the years? I mean, I've only lived in Donaldson for a couple of years. I've lived in Parker again since 2015, and I've seen Cherry Lane because I lived right over here. So
It's been bad, then you know.
It has to be several $100,000 in fines that probably haven't been paid. Were they forgiven? And again, somewhat rhetorical.
That is, the city don't own the street or anything in there. That's.
No, but that's a residence that's falling down, especially now after Michael, but they were before. So how many times have we assessed those property owners and they haven't paid it, and or we've
I'm not sure I
forgiven
understand.
it
Assessed for what?
for code enforcement.
Oh, how many times have they been coded?
Yes.
I'll have to look and see. I don't
And
know.
again,
now.
I'm not asking you to spend your time doing that. I'm just saying rhetorically, I can only imagine
Right.
that it's got to be a couple $100,000 to the various owners. Has that money ever
no,
been
I don't think it is that much. I don't
over
know
all
what it
these
is.
years?
I don't know what it is.
Okay, well,
I don't
would-
think till recently the code was that code enforcement was that strict until
Okay.
recently.
Well, maybe, and again, maybe it is strict, maybe it isn't, because I don't know. I can't recall what property it was that was forgiven, or if it was even.
So it used to be code
disclosed.
enforcement was by complaint. In other words, if you had a problem or
Yeah.
you could call it in, right? One of the first things I did when I became the mayor was to take the handcuffs off Mr. Talley so he could drive around in the city's vehicle and see code enforcement violations and just say to folks, hey, can you repair that, take care of that, cut that, whatever it is he had to do. And then, of course, that's generated a lot more code enforcement.
Mhm.
And,
But hopefully it's generated money unless we keep forgiving it.
well, it's not really about money. It's about getting the city cleaned up and breaking even. That's more like what
Well,
code is supposed to be.
I think it is about money when we're looking at adding an ad valorem tax. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and needing a grant writer and needing all these other things.
Yeah.
The county or the city needs to get the money where it can come from.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
talking about improving.
That's true.
If we're forgiving somebody that has a problem or has a code enforcement and we're extending it another year or, another 7 days after they've been on the list, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Then we're rewarding bad behavior.
I agree.
And then
I-
someone else gets a code enforcement letter and comes in and is frustrated because they don't see it being
Right.
evenly distributed. So
One thing,
just
if you
2
do
cents.
drive down there, the meth dealers leave lots of nails on the side of the
Oh, I'm
road.
sure they
So
do.
they'll pop your car tires, just pointing it out to you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Ms. Galbraith, you have the floor.
I would just like to ask you to consider, at the next town hall meeting, at the last town hall meeting, we had several citizens request just a brief update from all the department heads.
Okay.
Maybe we should consider just letting them do
We can
some
do
kind of
that.
brief
That's
update.
great. Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have.
Okay. Ms. Bauer?
I just want to say that, if there's anyone that'd like to speak to me about my vote last week on the Avalon tax, you're welcome to call me or talk to me about it, and I'll talk to you about it. I don't put my business out there in these meetings, but I will be glad to talk to you if you want to know why I voted no on that.
Anything else? That's all? Okay, very good. Yes, you have the floor, ma'am.
I agree with Stacy on the, having the department heads speak. I think it would be really helpful, because they have all of the information. I
Sounds
think
good.
it's a good thing. I'd like to see in the future is, at the town hall meetings, is to possibly bring in another speaker. So maybe, half of the meeting we bring in the sheriff, or we bring in, another county official that would be able to answer questions that would be pertinent to Parker, and then have the last session is question and answer, that kind of thing. I think that might be something different. And then we need to start working on the Easter egg hunt. Mr. Chappell?
I'm working on that already. Trying to get some people to donate eggs. I told them I figured we're probably going to need about 1,000 eggs this year. And we're going to be using this park out here, which has bathrooms and stuff like that. Again, we'll have hot dogs and drinks available and stuff. So it'll be a fun day.
Are we gonna
I got the
do-
rabbit already informed about coming out to it, so we'll have a live rabbit out there.
Really? Like in a cage?
No, I'm talking about
In the
a
bunny,
human,
in the
a
suit.
human live rabbit.
For a short time, it's April, it's hot.
Do we want the sheriff to drop the eggs out of the helicopter this year? Then he can meet with April and give her a ride, the helicopter.
They've got a new helicopter.
They do. Well, it's not new. It's not new to the world, but new to
New
him.
to them.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chappell, did you want to set up a meeting for volunteers to set,
Yeah,
like every week or every other week, to people that want to help out to volunteer and lighten the load for you?
Let's see. Well, Easter's gonna be on the 9th of April, and assuming we wanna go ahead and do it on that Sunday, it's a Sunday. So, I guess we'll do it in the afternoon
On Easter Day?
after church.
Why not the Saturday before? Yeah.
Yeah, you did it Saturday before.
Do it Saturday
It was done on
before?
the- Yeah, the day before.
Do it on the 5th, or on
Yeah, we're all
the
at
8th?
church.
Okay. Well,
What are you thinking, like
so let's,
2 o'clock, 1 o'clock?
backtrack at least a month. Yeah, we can, first of March. We could do it, have a meeting, let's see if we got another town hall meeting.
No, sir, not for a while.
We could do it the, second week in March, to start things off, and then have another one before,
So do you think-
in April.
Do you think that's enough time to get everything together? We have to order stuff or
Well-
get donations or,
The candy's gonna be the biggest problem, is stuffing the candy in the eggs. We don't wanna do that too awful soon, but with 1,000 eggs, if we don't have but 3 or 4 people stuffing eggs, it'll take a long time to stuff with candy.
do you think if we
When do you
started,
wanna get the stuff?
we wanna get it sooner than later?
Yeah.
Cause I'll tell you what, everything's crazy anymore. Like you go to buy something and it's all gone before your 2
Before
months
Easter,
before
yeah.
the Easter, or 2 months before Christmas, it's all gone. So I'm thinking like February 2nd, have the first meeting and then plan everything.
Why don't we ask for volunteers on the 31st and then
Yeah,
have the meeting?
at
I think
the
that's-
5th Tuesday, we could ask for volunteers, and if you know anybody that wants to donate candy, that would be another thing that would be great. Do you have the plastic egg cases still?
It has to be, the candy donated.
Has to be in little wrappers, right?
It has to be wrapped and preferred not chocolate.
No chocolate.
Because,
Okay. And not
chocolate
licked,
melts.
and not licked, right? It can't be anything that's been licked and put back in. Thank God.
So does February 2nd work, and we could do like 5 or 5:30, like either at the community center or out at the gazebo, or?
Okay, that's my wife's birthday. this
Aw.
Saturday.
Bring her with you.
But,
Give her candy.
Give her some candy.
Do it the following Thursday, do it the 9th.
Let's do the 9th. Does that work for you?
sure.
Okay, and then we can announce it at the town hall meeting. I can put it on Facebook. Okay, February 9th, 5:30. Are we gonna do the community center? Or do you wanna do the gazebo?
Let's do the community center. That way, if it's raining or snowing or whatever, we
We'll
won't
find
worry
out
about
if there's, anything going on the 9th.
It'll be fine, it's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday,
Yeah,
no, we
should
don't,
be
we'll log it in tomorrow.
Jamie won't be there, but
Where are you going?
it's her
my
birthday.
Happy birthday. Ma'am, you got the floor.
Yes, we need to set a date for an ARPA meeting. We have to allocate the funds.
Yep.
And it's been,
Pick a day.
Why don't we
In
do
our
that
staff
on
meeting
the-
tomorrow, we need to make sure the department heads know to get their letters to you.
yes, so it
Yeah.
can be part of your 5-year plan.
Yep.
And we need to get this done. We've met in October on a 5-year plan, but
When do you need to do it, like this week or next week?
ARPA needs to be allocated sooner rather than later.
Yeah, last week really, but next week probably better.
Next week?
Yeah, really, it needs to happen soon because we're already past the deadline date, aren't we?
No, sir. No, we've got until December, but I just see how things
You wanna
move.
do next Tuesday, 24th?
December. Week after next.
Why don't we do it at the next council meeting?
That's February 7th.
Yeah, we'd be okay. February 7th ain't gonna hurt us.
So we're gonna do it during a council meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Present and give them a list in advance of what the department heads came up with.
Do we wanna do that at 5 o'clock? Or we wanna do it earlier?
Council meeting's at 5:30.
For the Easter egg thing.
Oh,
Oh.
gosh.
But, well, 5:30 would probably be better for people
People
who
getting
have
off work.
jobs if they
Okay.
wanna volunteer, so yeah. So 5:30.
And also, we have an opening. We no longer have a code enforcement officer. So I'll just talk about code. We would like someone to apply. Background would be great.
So if you know anybody, it's gonna be in the paper. soon. Mr. Talley retired.
Are we doing it, other than the paper? I'm assuming we're gonna do Indeed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
went over the job description today, but
Yeah.
yes.
and I'm gonna help the clerk do the interview this time, because we're gonna be pretty sound on this one.
Can we just,
Just looking at some of these faces that want code, now's your time. Step up.
Can we what?
I would just like us to make sure that we double check our ad before we place, because the last time we placed an ad, we posted it in 2 different places.
The ad was different.
And the ad was different.
Yeah.
Who do you
So-
want to double check?
I do not care.
Yeah.
I just would
I
like for you
trust
to
you
make
completely.
2 people just double check and make sure we're not posting
Birthday
something
girl.
different.
So, it's unfortunate, but he gave me his paper Friday,
He had a grandbaby.
and he decided to go ahead and retire. He's taking the last of his leave, so he won't be back to work but for a couple of days. And he'll be working with Mr. Sloan, closing out of his case, all of the case log that he has at that time.
How does he have leave? He just came back.
He's been back over a year.
Yeah, he's over a year, yeah.
Oh, it's been that long? Okay.
So,
October.
Mr. Sloan, you have the floor, sir.
Nothing, Mayor.
Nothing for you?
I think you have another.
I
Yes.
just have one more thing about the Easter egg. So do you need eggs?
Yes.
Do you
The
need
plastic
plastic
eggs,
eggs?
yes.
1,000 of them.
Plastic ones.
Okay. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
real ones.
Yeah,
No, I
nobody can
can't
afford
They
that.
cost too much.
They'll rot by then.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be bad by then. I have nothing. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming.
I've got one little thing, okay? Just one more little
Okay,
thing.
your time's up, ma'am. Go ahead, make it
Okay.
quick.
She's volunteering.
She's gonna volunteer.
We have an indigenous snake that is, close to extinction, right? We've got a sign over there in the park that it is not to be touched.
Does it bite?
What
It's
park?
it's the black racer snake, if y'all go look at it. What's the name of the snake? I forget, but anyway, he's almost extinct, and there is a huge fine if anybody hurts the snake or touches the snake, and if you see the snake, you're supposed to notify who, it's on the park, it's right there at the
You'll hear
park.
me scream.
So I'm thinking, okay, so when we're clearing all these places off,
Yeah,
how we keep from killing things that
it's
are.
impossible to know, ma'am.
No, but what I'm saying is, we need to be aware of what we're doing when
But-
we're bulldozing all this land.
Yes,
And-
ma'am.
And when I was clearing my land, I'm doing it very carefully, and I would have killed several turtles, a lot of those snakes that they were talking about, and so we need to be aware of our environment
Yes, ma'am.
and our wildlife.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you.